This is Renee at Macworld iWorld 2012 from imore.com, and we are talking to Ken Case from Omni. How's it going, Ken?
Very well, thank you.
Now, you guys were one of the first to go all in on the iPad. I mean, you had some of your marquee products either immediately available or in the roadmap, and you actually declared the roadmap early on.
Yeah, 2 years ago here at the show, in fact. It was before we had access to an iPad, which was a pretty fun move.
Well, you probably did all like the drawing out all the UIs and carrying them around on paper.
Yeah, 2 years ago I had brought a plastic 3D printout from a 3D printer, right? That was kind of the right size and similar weight, so I could start carrying it around, putting paper mock-ups on it, drawing on it. Yeah, a lot of fun.
So now 2 years later, how do you see Omni on iPad? Is it what you thought it would be? Is it more?
It is a lot of the stuff that I thought it would be, yeah. I mean, we learned a lot of lessons along the way. Like some of the stuff that I thought we would be doing 2 years ago when we came here and we had not yet actually used an iPad, we threw out by the time we shipped, what was it, just a few months later when the iPad launched, that we realized, for example, as we were developing through there, when I came here 2 years ago, I thought maybe we would use a lot of fingers and gestures, that we had a lot more space on there, and for something like OmniGraffle, there were a lot of interactions you'd want to do, and we were trying to keep things modeless like we had done on the Mac. And we realized that delving into these sorts of micro modes to get into different areas of functionality. So you switch into drawing mode and you use a set of gestures there, and then switch back out into layout mode or editing mode to work and adjust those shapes. That was actually a lot easier for people to understand and approach as we got into developing.
It's almost the way Apple made the iPad more modal than the Mac to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see these little micro modes like just with copy and paste, right? You tap, and tapping does one thing the first time you tap. The second time you tap, now you get a little menu, and now you've got other things you can tap on. You're sort of delving down through these modes, but they're all modes that are so easy to get out of. You just tap away that I think people are often not really feeling like they're trapped in modes the way, the thing that we were trying to avoid on desktops years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing with the Omni app especially is it makes me feel like I can finger paint with productivity. It's a very unusual, it's almost like a combination of two brains I hadn't used in the same way before.
Yeah, well, it's a lot, that's the lens that we view the world with, right, is how can you use this sort of blank slate to create content, because we make tools for creating content. That's kind of how we think about the world, as opposed to other people who are thinking about having people consume content, of course, viewed it that way.
Now you have some apps that are iPhone and iPad, and some that you've put on the iPad. Do you consciously think about what's better in a mobile feet down, getting things done mode, and what's better with like your feet up, take your time productivity mode?
We mostly just decided we wanted. When we looked at the iPhone came first, obviously. So we developed our iPhone companion to the Mac app, OmniFocus for iPhone, and we realized quickly that we didn't want it to just be a companion app, so we made sure that it was something that could operate on its own.
Yeah.
When we learned about the iPad, though, we realized, okay, here's a screen that's actually big enough to do the kind of content creation that we do on the Mac. And so we realized that was going to be a perfect platform for doing things like OmniGraffle, OmniGraph Sketcher, and OmniOutliner. And so we quickly started working on bringing them there. We have been asked about bringing them to the iPhone, but we have consciously not made a commitment to that yet because we wanted to get through this first round of our 5 first apps first. There are some things that I would love to have on the iPhone, though, as I walk around, and I wish I had my outlines, for example. So I imagine we'll do something on the iPhone, but it will look different than what we're doing on the iPad.
It'll be designed for for how people use their iPhones.
Yeah, they're very different form factors. They're very different. A lot less space available. You can't do the same thing. An analogy I used was you can't do the same stuff in a bathtub as you can do in a swimming pool, right? You can't play water polo in your bathtub.
Absolutely. Or if you can, it's awkward for everybody involved. Looking forward, is there anything you'd like to see from Apple this year? Of course, like maybe Siri integration for third-party apps or inter-app contracts. Anything specific? Yeah,
absolutely. We would love to see deeper, Siri APIs. Right now, we have Siri integration in our iPhone app, but what we did, just took advantage of the fact that Apple already had a notion of adding things to reminders through Siri, and that reminders sync up to the cloud, and so we can sync to the cloud as well and get them that way. But we would love to be able to do richer things like say, what things do I have right now in OmniFocus at this location to get done, and what's due today, and so on, and have Siri come back with a list of that.
Yeah, you guys have always been very early adapters. You were on location very early. You were onto voice interaction very early. It's nice.
Well, we just see the platform changes and we think about what would we like to do with it ourselves.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, fantastic. Ken, thank you very much. This is Renee from iMore, and we are at Macworld iWorld 2012 talking to Omni.